In today's video, we're going to compare 4 of what I think are the best mini bashers on the market right now. 2 I've selected from comments that you guys have left on my other videos. 1 is the Mini XRT, and 1 I chose because I feel like people have kind of been sleeping on it. There's definitely been a lot of talk about what the best mini basher is, and definitely a lot of controversy, especially with the Traxxas ones. So in this video, we're going to find out who really does make the best mini basher. But the Mini XRT is going to be in here. The Rlaarlo Omni Terminator is going to be in here. This is the carbon version, so it's the nice upgraded version. I've got the MJX H14BM here, and there is kind of a lot to talk about with this one. For instance, it says Jetwood on the side. So before we get too far, let me just go ahead and say I cross-referenced a lot of the parts that are in here with the parts that are on the V3, and it does match up. It's got the good diffs. It's got a lot of the good parts. It's got the upgraded speed controller and motor, but I don't think it has the upgraded servo. So if I do destroy the servo on this one, then I'm just going to replace the servo with an upgraded version and not dock this at all for it. And lastly, we have one that I wanted to enter into this little competition. It is the HPI Savage XS Flux. This appears to meet all of the criteria required to be in this shootout. It has big 10th scale size electronics. It's 3S capable. It is beefy, overbuilt, overpowered, and it really does seem like it's going to do quite well in this. So the criteria that we're going to judge each truck based upon is as following. So we're going to do box value. Box value is going to be entirely unweighted, and it's going to be used for a tiebreaker only. So if we do have a tie, whichever truck came with the most stuff in the box is going to be the winner. Next is price. Price is going to be our lowest weight, but it is going to be weighted because it does contribute to the overall value of the truck. Now, price is only a low weight because this is a performance video. We're trying to find the best, not the best bang for the buck. The rest of the criteria is going to be directly related to performance. So we have top speed. We're going to use the stock gearing for that. Whatever came on the truck is what's going to get ran. We're going to do durability. Durability is highly important in the realm of mini bashers, so it's one of the highest weighted categories that we have. Performance, we have general performance. So like how easy does it flip? How well does it handle? All those kind of things are going to go in the performance category and make up for another very high weighted part of the rating. And finally, design. So all of these have very unique and cool designs in my opinion. So like the thought that goes into design could be like, is it easy to work on? Was it engineered in such a way that it's easy to work on? Did they use cool materials or really good materials? Did they design something badly? You know, you can lose points in design too, but design is going to be another medium weighted category that we're going to judge these based upon. And that's pretty much it for the categories, guys. I was going to do features, but I decided not to because features we can kind of loop in with both performance and design if we really want to cover what you get. It can also go into box value because if you get, like, for instance, a really good transmitter or something like that, then that's kind of what came in the box. Get comfortable, get a snack, and let's figure out what the best mini basher is out of this bunch. Here's the Mini XRT. This is the most expensive truck on this list. This bad boy will cost you $369.95 according to the Traxxas website. And yeah, I mean, it's a great performer, but it is way expensive, and it's a big point of contention for a lot of people. Next, here we have the Rlaarlo Omni Terminator Carbon. This bad boy I've seen kind of vary in price. It depends on whether or not it's on sale. So on the high end, you're at about $299.99, and on the low end, it looks like $229 is doable, maybe $239. Depends on the sale, depends on when you get it. Next is the Savage XS Flux. This bad boy is going to cost you $299. It seems very well equipped. It seems like a very, very good little RC car, so I'm not really going to hold the price against it too hard. But yeah, it is definitely on the higher end there at $299.99. And lastly, and by far the least costly, we have the MJX Hypergo / Jetwood. We're just going to refer to it as the MJX Hypergo H14BM. This bad boy right here I've seen as low as $124 and as high as $199. It depends on the branding you get. It depends on which version you get, and it also depends on whether or not it's on sale. So realistically, if we just think of it as $199 and maybe like $150 on sale, this is probably by far the best bang for the buck that you're going to get in this category. So for design, basically what I did was I either gave a point or took a point away for certain things. And if it was like something that was like kind of good and kind of bad, it got a point and lost a point. It actually wound up, in my opinion, being a really good way to rate this. So the Mini XRT did get a point for having a clipless body mounting system. It got a point for having big, chunky components. It got a point for big shocks, but it lost a point for the suspension being too soft. It got a point for the center diff, It got a point for having a modular and easy to work on design. It lost points for not coming equipped with fans. It lost a point for the hole in the body. It gained a point for good plastic, but it also lost a point for having plastic where I think it should be aluminum. Particularly speaking about the motor mount, I think it's kind of silly that that is plastic. There is good fluid in the diffs, actually. Best feeling diffs out of all of them, in my opinion, so it got a point for that. It got a point for TSM. I gave it a point for the drive shafts because it has these telescoping drive shafts. Yes, they're plastic, but the Mini XRT is not going to tear these things up. They're way too chunky for how big the whole car is. And yeah, so we got a point for having those telescoping drive shafts instead of like standard dog bones. And the last point I gave it is for an overall good design feel. Anyone that seems particularly stout and particularly well designed gets a point for this. So I'm giving the Mini XRT a 7 out of 10, which means that it is a good design, but it could be better. And you know, it makes up for some of those negatives with, you know, the inclusion of a center differential and some other, you know, big things that are going on with this. Okay, so on the MJX, I took a point away for having body clips. The MJX got points for having aluminum threaded bodied shocks, an aluminum chassis, a nice aluminum center brace, and this really cool looking aluminum bell crank down here. The MJX lost points when it came to battery versatility. I wasn't able to put nearly as many packs in the MJX as I could anything else. So I took a point away for that. The suspension feel on this particular one is particularly bad, honestly. I don't think it is up to snuff. I don't think it's as good as other MJX Hypergo stuff that I've tried. I may try to sort of rebuild these shocks and see if I can get it a little bit better. The MJX got points for having two fans, one on the motor and one on the ESC. The tires feel really good. They're nice and sticky and soft. I'm pretty happy with those. So you'll notice that we have adjustable tie rods here for the toe. Got a point for that. It got a point for having lights. It lost a point for having no slipper or center diff or any kind of gear protection. We got a point for having good plastic. It's good flexible plastic. I am, however, taking a point away for these kind of floppy lower control arms. I feel like they could be thicker. It could be better. All in all, the MJX gets a 6 out of 10 in the design department. I think it's good, but it could be better. So it's not really good, but it could be better. It's good, but it could be better. All right, so next up we have the Savage XS. The Savage lost a point for having the body posts up here. It gained a point for having super beefy adjustable suspension. It gained a point for having this twin vertical plate chassis because not only is it unique, but it feels extra stiff and really seems like it's gonna hold up to some pretty serious abuse. I gave the Savage a point for having a versatile battery box. So this is the battery box on the Savage XS, and it got a point for being versatile because I can fit the majority of my full-size 3-cell packs in here, and I just thought that that was really awesome. It's held closed by these little doohickeys right here, and as long as they hold up, then I'm going to keep this point for the Savage XS. And if for some reason it were to fall apart and not really hold up while I'm driving it, then it'll definitely lose that point and probably another point. I gave it a point for an ultra low CG battery and motor placement. So on this side where you see this little box, there's a battery there, and on the other side, the motor is placed just that low. So it's very, very low CG sort of design. The ESC is way up here, but like in comparison to the battery and motor, that's not really, that's small potatoes. I gave it a point for having this handle slash roll bar here. This is really nice, really sturdy feeling. So I gave it a point for having a slipper clutch as well. Honestly, a slipper clutch or a center diff on an overbuilt, overpowered little basher like this is going to make all the difference in the world. Hence the Mini Max, hence a lot of small cars that just rip their diffs apart. Definitely a big point there for the slipper clutch. Another point because 90% of these hex screws in here are backed by a nut somewhere on the other side. And while that might make it a pain to sort of take apart, I think that's really cool and like just gonna be really sturdy. I don't think you're gonna lose screws here because you have a lock nut on the other side of everything. Like you can see on the shocks here, we got the shock screw. On the other side, we have a lock nut. If you look right here on the top part of the diff cover, there's two little lock nuts there and the screws come up through the bottom. I had to give it a point for that because I thought it was really cool. On that same hardware token though, the Savage is gonna lose a point for having E-clips holding on to the little hinge pins for the hubs there. That is just annoying and I hate E-clips, so it's losing a point for that. Giving it a point for a very solid design and build feel, similar to how we did for the Mini XRT. Definitely the most solid feeling of the bunch actually. And getting a point for excellent feeling suspension. This suspension feels super good. And then lastly, we are taking a point away for the fact that it is mostly plastic. I do understand most ready-to-run RC cars are mostly plastic, but in this particular shootout, some of these cars have a lot less plastic than others. When you add it all up and you do everything you need to, the Savage gets an 8 out of 10 for design. It has most things, honestly. If it just had a few upgrades, a few aluminum parts, then it would be maxing out in this category. Okay, and we saved the best for last, honestly. The one that I've given the most points to from a design perspective is absolutely the Omni Terminator. This thing is kind of a work of art. It looks like a factory team race kit. This is the carbon version, but the other aluminum version still comes with like the majority of this really good stuff here. This one does have a carbon center brace and some little carbon inserts. It has a little different ESC. And I think it also has a different motor. So it's a little bit different, but overall, the carbon black version and the regular Omni Terminator are both going to come very well equipped out of the box. So for this one, I have given it a point for these big adjustable aluminum shocks. These are freaking awesome. They feel good. They look good. They even come with little shock protectors on top. I'm giving it a point for including aluminum shock towers. That's right. Those are aluminum shock towers. We're giving the Omni Terminator a point for having adjustable toe up front. The Omni Terminator is also going to get a point for having the carbon center brace as well as sway bars installed from the factory, which is really, really cool. So you can just barely make it out here. Sorry for the lighting, I'm just trying to be cool, but we have these carbon inserts on the bottom A-arms here. And yeah, we're getting a point for that because that's just cool. We're taking a point away for the tires being relatively hard. Rlaarlo did say that they had updated these with a softer sponge, which means they must have been super hard before because they're still a little harder than I would like for them to be. We are gaining a point for having multiple battery mounting options, so you can move the ESC up here, and then that opens up your battery tray to accept full-size batteries, which is sweet. The Omni Terminator is also going to gain points for the sweet aluminum motor mount, the heat sink and fan on the motor, and the fan on the ESC, so that's 3 points for all that. I'm also giving it a point for having a XT60 connector on here, and you know what? This is a me thing. I'm a big XT60 guy. That's all my batteries, so the Omni Terminator is going to be able to run all of my stuff, which is sweet. It also includes a battery with an XT60 connector on it, which means it's going to plug into 90% of chargers. That's why I gave it the point for that. So in the design category, the Omni Terminator is going to get a 10 out of 10. It's got a center diff. It's got all of these sweet hop-ups on it. It's got literally pretty much everything that you would want. 10 out of 10 for the Omni Terminator. It is, in my opinion, the most well-equipped mini basher that you're going to be able to buy. Alright, so starting off the grass section here, like every review, not much to take away. Everything performed out here pretty good. The MJX struggled the most with the grass, but overall, I mean, it was still fun out here. It just wasn't as able to handle it as the others that are bigger. So the Omni Terminator flies super duper well, as you can tell here. It took me a while to figure out how to backflip it here, but I was definitely able to get them after I practiced a little bit. It definitely didn't have as much power as I originally expected it to, so that was a little bit of a letdown, but overall, I mean, look at it, it just flies and lands and jumps so well. Now the Savage XS Flux had a little bit different of a situation going on. It was a little too easy to flip, so it took me a little while to get used to it, but it also performed really well out here at the Grass Hills. And also, we don't have the Mini XRT out here because I lost the footage, but if you want to see it, I have a whole review on it. Alright, here at the skate park, we're going to start with the MJX. Starting off with a little easy sort of flow here to get myself warmed up. Yeah, the MJX flips are really easy. It does really well, especially at the skate park. It was much more in line with how I wanted it to perform in the grass area. The MJX is definitely really fun here at the skate park. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Alright, now for the Rlaarlo Omni Terminator here at the skate park. Omni Terminator, sometimes hard for me to say. Definitely really likes these flow jumps here on the Omni Terminator. It definitely, you can tell the cushiness of the Omni Terminator suspension is helping it so much out here. Only issue is I just can't get it to flip at the skate park. It just wants to launch, and that's all it'll do. So I go for a front flip here, and that turns out pretty bad. Yep, shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, overall, the Omni Terminator definitely flows out here, and it's kind of fun to carve around the bowls. Definitely gets really big air. Alright, the Savage XS Flux out here. This thing is just so powerful, and it takes me so much time to sort of get used to flipping it, but it takes these big hits no problem. But yeah, overall, I mean, the Savage XS Flux is just awesome out here. The same sort of bump handling capability that the Rlaarlo was giving, but just tons and tons of power.
There we go.
Really good out here, lots of fun. I enjoyed this truck way too much.
Who wants to do that?
Alright, and the Mini XRT back in its home park. Definitely just still liking this guy out here. You can, just look at it. Just watch how, like, it just seems like it's just ready for this at all times. I really like the Mini XRT at the skate park. It's just so good out here. Lots of fun. If you guys want to see way more Mini XRT bashing, like I said, I do have a video that I already made reviewing this thing, and I definitely go a little bit harder on it out there, but it does well out here as well. Just a good time with the Mini XRT. Really enjoy it. Alright, so before we get into our final ratings, box value, durability, and performance, I just want to go ahead and say that all of the RC cars in this video are actually really good. Like, every single one of these would get a good review from me. They are the best representatives, I think, of this like bigger mini class, and they're all really awesome. And for instance, like going into durability now, I don't play with my RC cars like this normally. The whole skate park thing and like the big hits and the crashes on concrete and stuff like that, that's not what I would consider normal use or play. It's kind of abuse. So any durability knocks, we're at the highest level here of destruction. It's not a good way to drive your RC car. All right, so for durability, the Mini XRT is getting a 9 out of 10 because the Mini XRT is the only truck to not actually break any plastic. I did have a shock come apart, but it was easily something I could have fixed in the field. I just screwed it back together. It screwed back together nice and tight, and it would have been ready to run. And this is the second video for the Mini XRT going to the skate park and getting bashed like that. So honestly, it really did hold up better than every other truck. Following up the Mini XRT is the HPI Savage XS. The HPI did break its body mount, but it was something that could have easily been fixed in the field. All I would have needed to do was put some body pins back in there. I don't love the way that the body pins hold the body mounts onto the chassis as well as the body, but honestly, it would have been an easy fix to get it back running. Also, there was another body mount included in the box, so it's pretty much like nothing ever happened. So 8 out of 10 for the Savage XS on the durability front. Next, the Rlaarlo Omni Terminator got a 7 in durability. The reason for that is because the break that it suffered was like the hinge pin or the A-arm or something like that. It wasn't something I could fix in the field despite how much I tried, and I'm definitely going to have to order some parts in order to make that work. On top of that, it didn't last all that long before that break happened. Now, I do understand, you know, like it could have been a lucky hit or an unlucky hit depending on how you look at it, but it did break plastic, and it did break earlier than both the Savage XS and the Mini XRT. And coming through with a 6 in durability is the MJX Hypergo. Now, I know these things are just like notorious for being super duper durable, but I broke this thing so fast. It could have been a bad hit, but it was the rod end on the steering tie rod. I broke it super early. I actually made like half the video with one of the wheels just kind of flopping around. Unfortunate, and actually because of my choosing to run it around like that with one of the wheels flopping around and binding up, I actually stripped the front diff too. So it does have those upgraded diffs as far as I know, matching all the part numbers I can. It does have those upgraded diffs. I did cook one, but honestly, it was being abused pretty heavily, and it was running with like I said, a wheel just flopping around doing whatever it wanted to. So we're only really going to knock it for the tie rod and how early it broke. It broke really, really early in the filming there at the skate park. All right, now for performance. And again, guys, these are all very, very good performing RC cars. I'm splitting hairs here trying to get the performance in some kind of like scoring system. So, you know, if you don't agree with me, that's totally okay, because your experience with one of these would be different than mine, and that's fine. Starting at the bottom, we have the MJX Hypergo in the performance category. I gave it a 7. The reason I gave it a 7 is because the suspension just kind of really wasn't there like I wanted it to be. It certainly wasn't there in comparison to the others, and it didn't really handle the rough stuff like grass and things like that as well as the others. It absolutely cooked as far as speed goes, power, everything like that. It was really, really good in that department, but as far as like sort of like stability, handling, and like performance in the grass and stuff like that, it just wasn't as good as the other cars in this list. Coming up next in performance, we have the Rlaarlo Omni Terminators. The Rlaarlo Omni Terminator jumps extremely well. It handles extremely well. It's just not that powerful. It was hard to flip. It does this weird thing where if you're in the air and you barely touch the brakes, it wants to front flip. If you're just going fast and you barely touch the brakes, it wants to front flip. But in the power department, it just really wasn't there. The Rlaarlo Omni Terminator on 3S is probably slower than every other car on this list on 2S. And yeah, it just wasn't there for me in the power department. So the Rlaarlo Omni Terminator is getting an 8 in performance because it is really, really good. It's just kind of gutless. Next in the performance category, we have the Mini XRT. I give the Mini XRT a 9 because the Mini XRT just does it for me, especially at the skate park. It's like built for that. It does so well. It just handles well in the air. It's easy to flip. It's easy to do everything with, and it's just kind of ready for everything. And on top of that, it has gobs and gobs of power on 3S, and it's just a really, really, really high performing little vehicle. Now, I know a lot of you guys aren't really going to agree or love that, but it's just the truth. The Mini XRT is a very, very, very good performing little RC car. It handles the grass, it handles the skate park, it handles everything great, and it's just really, really good. Also getting a 9 performance is the HPI Savage XS. This thing is overpowered and just so much fun. Hard, once you figure out how to flip it, then it'll be easy. It's the most snappy flipper in this list. Like, you can flip it at pretty much any time in the air. It handles big landings really, really well. It handles bumps and jumps and all sorts of stuff like that really well. And it actually handles, as far as like turning and stuff like that goes, very, very well. So the HPI Savage XS is also getting a 9 in the performance category. All right, so before we get to our final scores, we're going to look at box value. I will tell you that there isn't a tie here that we need to break, but as far as box value goes, the MJX is probably number 1. It comes with the most extras and most spare parts, but really, really, really close to that is the Rlaarlo Omni Terminator. The Rlaarlo Omni Terminator comes with so much cool stuff. It's not really replacement parts for the Omni Terminator, it's like additional accessories, whereas the MJX is more like replacement parts and things you might need. Plus you get things like tires and wheels with them. This one I got, you got these chassis covers, you got all sorts of just cool stuff coming with the MJX. A lot of value in that box for both, actually, the Omni Terminator and the MJX, but we're going to do MJX is the best. Rlaarlo Omni Terminator is going to be a very, very, very close second best. In third place is going to be this HPI Savage XS because it comes with some parts, but it doesn't really come with like anywhere near as much as the 2 Chinese offerings here. And the Mini XRT just comes with basically the truck and some shot clips and just whatever in the box. It's a Traxxas, so that is the bottom on box value, but we're not really going to be using box value in this because we don't have a tie. So let me tell you guys really quick, before we get to the final score, the way I weighted these categories. So durability and performance are both worth 30% of a total score. So durability and performance were, to me, the 2 biggest things here. And so together they make up 60% of the final score. Design came through with 20% because honestly, a really good design is important and it kind of is cohesive with all the other stuff like performance, durability, whatever. Top speed is worth 15% because bashers need to be fast, but honestly, a really good performing basher, I mean, maybe it just doesn't have that high of a top speed. In price, I just put worth 5%. And for some of you guys, that's worth way more, and that's okay. You know, take what you want from this video and decide what you think is the best on your own. But for me, in this video, I was looking for the best performance, design, durability, and a lot of times getting all that isn't necessarily cheap. So I did put price in there, but it's only 5% of the total score. Now, all of these RC cars are actually the best at something. Like, the best bang for the buck is 100% the MJX Hypergo. I did have to put a servo in mine, but that Jetwood version only cost like $124, which is completely insane for that type of price to be competing in like this type of shootout with the kind of RC cars that we got going on here. The MJX Hypergo is without a doubt the best bang for the buck. The Rlaarlo Omni Terminator is absolutely the nicest RC car to receive in a box. Like, when you get it out of the box and you look at the car you get and all the accessories, like, it came with all sorts of stuff. The radio has a gyro. The radio has a voltage little sensor so you can see where your battery's at on the controller. All the aluminum parts, all of the presentation there. The Rlaarlo Omni Terminator is the nicest RC car in this shootout by far. The HPI Savage XS is by far the highest powered RC car on this list. It is crazy. Standing backflips are totally possible. The snappiest backflips. It's super durable. It's really well designed, and it's kind of like, honestly, I don't know why more people haven't compared things like the Mini XRT or the Mini Max to this HPI Savage XS. It is insane. It performs very well and very competitively in that category. And the Traxxas Mini XRT, honestly, I'm just going to say it's the most well-rounded. It's great in the performance perspective. For me, it's great in the durability perspective. So, like, it definitely has all the parts there. So I'm giving the Mini XRT, honestly, while it is the most expensive, definitely the most well-rounded mini basher in the bunch. Anyway, guys, so I have some final scores here. I'm going to go ahead and post them on the screen right now. I even made graphs, so you can pause them, look at them, do whatever you need to do, but here they are right now. Now, those graphs and the way everything was weighted here was based on what I think is important. So if you think anything is more or less important to you, then obviously, you know, you take what you want from this video and you make your own decision on what you think is the best. But honestly, this was a really fun video to make. I got to play with definitely some of the best bigger mini scale bashers there are. Just lots of fun, lots of power, just a really great video to make. I enjoyed it so much. With that being said, if you like this video, give it a like. If you like this type of content, you should subscribe because I make videos like this every week. It's always a good time around here. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.